morning from the homestead. We've got coffee done and the bacon's cooked, and now we're going to make some sourdough waffles. Now, I fed my sourdough last night. When I got up this morning, it had bubbled over, so it's ready to go. But if you didn't feed it the night before, it's still good to go. But it's bubbling, smells good. This is a real easy recipe. I got my waffle iron, got it going, it's hot. So I'm going to mix up my dry ingredients. It's just a cup of flour, 1½ teaspoons of baking powder. You just need a teaspoon of salt and 2 tablespoons of sugar. And I've just got organic sugar here. And I'm going to mix up my dry ingredients real good. Get them all incorporated. Now at the end of this video, I'm going to show y'all how I make my sourdough starter. I started it with yogurt. So that's how I do my starter. It's real easy. I just feed it. I feed it every day about the same time, which is at night after, after I get things done, and hopefully I don't forget to feed it. I have done that a few times. And I'll just feed it and put it to bed, and we just do that every day. And if I don't use it the next day for baking or doing something with it, I'll just pour a little bit out, just discard a little bit. I hate to waste it, but every day you just don't have time to come in from work and bake something. I wish I did. Okay, that's my dry ingredients. Now I'm going to mix up my wet ingredients. And that's just 2 eggs, 2 fresh eggs. I'm going to whisk them up real good. Now I've got a 1/2 cup of milk. And I got a couple of tablespoons of melted butter. Make sure it's not hot. Make sure your butter's cooled off before you put it in here with your eggs and stuff. Now I took a little bit of my melted butter and I buttered my waffle iron, so you can use butter, or if you need to, canola oil, whatever that you use. I don't use canola oil or vegetable oil. I use lard, butter, olive oil, just whatever you have on hand. And this is non-stick, so if you got a non-stick, you don't have to put much on there, if any. So I got my milk, my butter, and my eggs. Now I'm going to take my sourdough starter, and I'm going to put about a cup of it. So it was a cup of flour and a cup of my starter. And I'm putting it in here with my wet ingredients. I'm going to mix it up real good. And then all I'm going to do is bring over my dry ingredients. Pour my wet ingredients in there. Now, if your batter seems to be a little bit thin when you get it mixed up, you can add a little more flour to it. You don't want it real thick. You want it to be pourable to pour onto your waffle maker. You can also add a little bit of vanilla in here. I think I'm going to do that. My lovely assistant back here would come get my vanilla for me.
Lovely.
Yes. I thought I had everything together, but I didn't. It's right back here on with all my stuff. Now you can omit the vanilla, but Vanilla makes everything taste good. It should be on that bottom shelf, just kind of tucked behind stuff, probably. It's in a tall bottle. There you go. So this really is mixing up really good. The consistency looks real good. Thank you, Vanna.
Don't call me Vanna.
So I'm going to put about a teaspoon.
Lovely.
Yes, you are.
Lovely.
I'm going to put a teaspoon of vanilla. And that's it. I'm going to pour this back in this because I need something that I can pour out of. I've kind of done that backwards. Okay. It shows that my waffle iron is ready to go. So what I'm going to do, you don't want to fill each thing up just to, because it will come out the sides if you're not careful. So I'm going to pour it in each little hole and hopefully it won't come out the sides. So we're going to try that. I'm going to put the top down and let it cook. I think my waffle's done. Looks pretty brown. We like them good and brown, and it's hot. I've got a little bit of butter over here. Put some butter and let that melt on top. Now this is just a little waffle iron. It's not one like a Belgian. I'd like to get me one of them Belgian waffle irons that makes a really big waffles. But this is plenty big. And I've got some maple syrup that I warmed up. We like our syrup hot. And there you go. There's your sourdough waffles. I'm going to put one more in here. Let Mr. Brown have that one. Now, I'm going to feed, since I used a cup of starter out of my sourdough starter, I'm going to feed it. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a half a cup of flour and about 1/4 cup of water, and I'll stir it up. All I do is put either a paper towel, or I've got a little piece of linen cloth that I put on here with a rubber band around it, and that's how it stays up on my shelf. So every day, that's what I do, is I feed it a half a cup of flour and a 1/4 cup of water. And it does really good. I mean, that's the ratio that I use. I'm sure other people do it differently, but it does real well doing it that way. And like I said, if I don't use it every day, I just take about a half a cup out and discard it and feed it. So every day I've got some good starter on hand. And it seems to do real good here in this house because I put it on my shelf back here in the pantry that has everything on that shelf is fermenting. I've got all kinds of vinegars back there that's fermenting, so that helps my sourdough. So anyways, I hope y'all like this recipe, and I'm going to show y'all in just a minute how I start my starter. Hey guys, I'm going to show y'all how I make my sourdough starter. It's real easy. And the thing that I really like about it is it's always been pretty much a foolproof sourdough starter. Besides that, it's got more probiotic in it because I started with yogurt. I just used a plain Greek. In fact, this is Stonyfield organic Greek yogurt. That's what I use. That's That's what I can get around in my area. Now, if you've got homemade yogurt, that's great. But all you're going to start out with is a half a cup of yogurt. You want to use a glass jar or a glass bowl, some kind of glass container. You don't want to use a metal container to make your starters in. So I put a half a cup of my yogurt in the jar. And we know that our yogurt, it has 5 live active cultures in it. So you talk about making a very good fermentation. And I think that's why it's just foolproof. So all we got is a half cup of yogurt and a half cup of buttermilk. Now you can use plain milk, it don't matter. I'm going to use buttermilk. And I'm just going to stir this up. Now this is very easy. Just stir all this up till you get it combined good. And all you're going to do, now when you cover this up, make sure you wipe the sides of your jar down. I'm not going to take the time to do it right now. But y'all can hear my little granddaughter in the background. Wipe your jar down good. Wipe the insides and make sure you got everything mixed up. That's all there is to that. Now you don't want to put a tight lid on top because I have seen sourdough starters explode. So you don't want to put a tight lid. So what I do to start my fermentation, I just put either a paper towel or a small piece of linen cloth or something that's, or even a coffee filter, something that's going to let that fermentation, it's going to let it breathe and get all the good stuff in there. And I just place my lid on there a little bit. Now what you're going to do with this, I'm going to put this back here on my fermentation shelf. It's going to sit here. It needs to sit in about anywhere from 75 to 80 degree warm temperature for about 24 hours. Just let it sit there. Now, when you go look at it, it's going to have a big curd that's going to have formed in there, and that's what you want. That's really good. So 24 hours, that should be what it's done. All you do is take the top off, and you're going to stir it up. Then you're going to add just a half a cup of all-purpose flour, and you'll stir that up. Put your top back on it, put it back on your shelf for about 3 or 5 days, something like that. And what you're going to see is you're going to see it bubbling. You're going to smell that fermentation. It's going to smell so good. And usually in my house it takes about 3 days. Just depends on the temperature of your house. Now, once you see that it's fermenting and doing what it's supposed to, like I said, it will have rose a little bit. It'll be bubbling and you can smell the fermentation. Now what you have to do is feed it, because it's alive and it needs to be fed. So what I do, I just make it simple. I don't make this a difficult thing to do. I know people are going, oh, I just can't commit to a starter. I know I work every day and I have to make things as simple as I can, stuff that I can remember and the way that I can remember to do it. So what I do, some people after 3 to 5 days will feed it, stir it up, and put it in the refrigerator. I don't do that. My mother-in-law's sourdough starter stayed on her countertop by her sink for years. The same starter in the same jar for years. She never put it in the refrigerator. But I'm not going to tell you that's a bad thing. But when you take it out, you got to let it get to room temperature before you feed it. Just remember that. So, after 3 to 5 days, when it's fermented where I want it to be, I'll come in and I'll put a half a cup of flour in it because I'm going to feed it. And you can either go ahead and put a half a cup of milk. I don't put milk in it anymore. I put water. And I don't even put half a cup. I come in, I put a half a cup of flour and about 1/4 a cup of water in it. I stir it up, put the top on it, put it back on my shelf. Okay, the next day I come in from work. If I want to make biscuits or sourdough cornbread or if we're having pancakes that night, or just whatever. I take what I need out of it, and then I replace it. I feed it again. The thing of it is, especially like on Saturday mornings, if you have fed your starter Friday night a half a cup of flour, a fourth a cup, or a half a cup of water or milk, the next morning it's going to be ready to use for your pancakes or waffles or whatever. So, but it's about that easy. It's not hard to do. You just have to feed it. What I do, some people that are home all day feed their starter twice a day. I leave for work early, so what I do is I make it a habit. Before I go to bed at night, I feed my starter. That's the only way I can remember it. And my starter never sits in the refrigerator, it sits out here on the shelf. Sorry, y'all. But, like I said, that's up to you. If you want it in the refrigerator, if you feel safer that way. But mine stays out here now. Yeah. My grandbaby just got a baby chick. You got to put it back now. She just will not leave them babies alone. But anyways, if I don't use my starter that night, all I do is discard a half a cup. And I know you say I hate wasting it, but that's just part of it. You're not always going to be able to come in and, make something with your sourdough starter. So I discard it, feed it again, a half a cup of flour, a half a cup of water or milk, or what I use is a fourth, a cup of water or milk. I use water. So it's about that easy. But this is my favorite sourdough starter. And I'll put it down in the description box. All it is a half a cup of yogurt and a half a cup of buttermilk, or regular milk, whichever. And that's what you start with. And then you'll start feeding it a half a cup of flour. And from that point on, you'll always have a good starter on your shelf. So if you have any questions about it, just ask me. I've not ever had any problems with it. And my mother-in-law, like I said, her starter stayed on her countertop for years and years, and she fed it every single day. But she made homemade bread and stuff every single day too, so, but you can't go wrong with your sourdough starter. Now, if you think you're going to go out of town for a week or something, I would put it in the refrigerator for sure. And when you come back, it may not look very good. You can kind of pour some of it out and feed it again, start over. But before you feed it, you always have to take it out of the refrigerator and bring it out and bring it back to room temperature before you feed it. You have to remember that. So, anyways, I hope this did help you. And I'm telling you, if you ever make your starter this way, you'll just really love it. And there's different ways to make your sourdough starter. You can make it with rye flour, regular flour, whatever. There's different ways out there. Just whatever you like is best and what works for you. Now, Mary over at Mary's Nest does a lot of fermentation. She does a lot of sourdough and a lot of bread making and stuff like that. So you need to go check her channel out. Miss Vicky over at Vicky's Country Home, she's what I tell her all the time. I call her my sourdough lady because she does, excuse me, she makes a lot of sourdough breads and stuff. She's really good at it. So go check her channel out. But anyways, I hope y'all like this video. I hope you learned something. I hope you learned that if you get the flu, you'll cough for a month afterwards. I'm telling you, that flu really got me down. I can't do anything without coughing. But anyways, I hope you like this video. Y'all make you a sourdough starter. You'll really like it. Make you some sourdough waffles. I'm going to have to make me a hot toddy so I'll quit coughing. But anyways, try it. You'll like it. Go over and visit Miss Vicky at Vicky's Country Home. She'll teach you how to make some sourdough bread. And Mary at Mary's Nest, she'll teach you how to cook some things from sourdough starter too. We all love this stuff. Our grandmas used it before us. It's just a good thing to always have on your counter. So y'all make you up a batch. So if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Everybody have a beautiful weekend. And my house is busy between grandkids and baby chicks running around. So everybody have a good weekend. I love you. God bless. And we'll see you next time.